This is the Hyperion, the most sought after and prestigious weapon in all of Hypixel Skyblock. Now, I know what you're thinking, it's just a sword, how can it be so special? Here, let me show you why. The secret of this weapon lies in its ability, which is unlocked when you apply all 3 power scrolls to it. This ability allows you to teleport ahead, deal insane amounts of damage, and it gives you healing on top of all of that. However, it also comes with an extremely high price tag of 2 billion coins, which means many players strive to have this weapon, but they simply can't because it's too expensive. However, today I'm going to be showing you guys a bunch of cheap alternatives you can use for the Hyperion. Alright, now let's get into these alternatives. Alright, so the first weapon that we're going to be using as a Hyperion alternative is going to be the Yeti Sword. So you're going to want to get a Yeti Sword that's looking something like this. I'm going to go ahead and buy this one, and the main thing I saw with this one is that it has Smite 7, which is going to make this one much cheaper to upgrade. And by upgrade, I just mean throwing all the cheap tier 6s onto it so it performs better. To recap, on the Yeti Sword, it should be Recommed, 5-star, Heroic, have at least 10 hot potato books, Ultimate Wise 5, all the cheap tier 6s, and Smite 7 if you can. And this weapon cost me 58 million coins in total. Let's go ahead and test it using the Hyperion as a baseline test right here. So with the Hyperion, I am doing, looks like 2.9 million damage, 2.9. And with the Yeti Sword, you do more damage if you get closer to the mob. So if I'm standing right next to it, we are doing 4.25 it looks like. Yeah, around 4.25, 4.3 million damage, which is significantly higher than the Hyperion. Wait, hold on, this thing's actually OP. I'm doing like 1.5 mil damage more than the Hype, and the Hype has like tier 7s and perfect gemstones in it, while this thing just has a fine gemstone and 1 tier 7. 3.9, yeah, I'm doing like 1.5 mil damage more than the Hype. This thing's actually OP when it comes to single hit damage. I can also kind of like throw the ground as it says. I can also kind of throw the ground as the ability says right here. It says terrain toss, so it's supposed to throw ground just like that, so I can actually get some ranged attacks in from here. Looks like it's doing 1.3 to like 2.7 mil damage. Yeah, so it seems to be around 2.2 million damage. Obviously, when I stand right next to it, it's around 4 million damage, so it's not anywhere close, but it does allow me to get some ranged attacks in, which is nice. And even though 2.2 is much less than 4 million coins, it is still very close to the Hyperion's damage, and you have to keep in mind this weapon only costs 58 million coins. It is not even close to the Hyperion's price. Another really important place to test the Yeti Sword here is going to end up being dungeons, because as you can see right here, the dungeon class passive, at least at level 32 for me, it makes all abilities have a 41% shorter cooldown, which basically means that the main drawback to this weapon is going to be much better in dungeons. So it might actually be viable for clearing, but let's test it and find out. So if I just go here, okay, wait, it's actually not bad. It's kind of slow compared to the Hyperion, but it's not clearing too terrible, and we're also doing like 30 million damage it looks like. We just flew through that mini boss right there. Yeah, we're flying through these mini bosses, even though it's just F7, it's still actually really good here. So there's the Blood Rush in 43 seconds, which was obviously terrible because I'm just bad at the game. But this thing is doing, like, you can see 30 million damage on these mobs, 25 and 38 million damage. When you compare it to the Hyperion here, we're only doing, I think I saw like 21 mil, 31 million damage, 24 million damage. So it seems to be consistently like 5 mil higher with the Hyperion. So that's actually really good for the Yeti Sword here. So one other thing that I want to test out the Yeti Sword with here is Blade Soul, since the Yeti Sword does do a bunch of damage, so let's go ahead and test this out. Let's also test out Blade Soul with the Hyperion to use as a baseline here. So the Hype is nearly a minute faster, but one weapon is 2 billion coins and one weapon's 50 million coins, so yeah. The next alternative we're going to be looking at here is the Glacial Scythe. Ideally, you should be looking for a Glacial Scythe that has Heroic, 5 stars, 10 hot potato books, Ultimate Wise 5, and a Recom and some tier 6s on it, so I'm going to buy this one right here and then fix it up. In the end, your Glacial Scythe should look something like this. To recap, you should have Heroic, 5 stars, at least 10 hot potato books, Ultimate Wise 5, bunch of cheap tier 6s, and a Recom. And I spent a total of 64 million coins on this. Let's go ahead and test out the Glacial Scythe against the Hyperion. So with the Hype, we are doing 2.8, And then with the Glacial Scythe, we are doing 356k. 356, 356, so it seems to be consistent around that number. The damage also seems to be really consistent. I'm getting the exact same number every single time, which is good to see. And also, I think you can just, yeah, you can just go straight through mobs. So if I have two zombies lined up here, I can shoot a bolt and they both die, and the same thing here. The fact that the Glacial Scythe also has less of a cooldown on the Yeti Sword should also show here in dungeons. So we can go ahead and compare that and test it right now. So as I'm walking in, I can kind of just hold right click here and it's kind of spamming for me. I can also just spam right click, and as you can see, it's really not doing that much damage, but I can shoot a lot of bolts and I'm not really losing any mana at all, which is good. Yeah, okay, this is not so great when it comes to mini bosses here, but when it just comes to dealing with a bunch of mobs, it's much better at clearing. See, like, if I show you all of these mobs right here, I can just down them all similar to a Hyperion with the Glacial Scythe, which is something I couldn't do with the Yeti Sword. I am still one-tapping most of these mobs here. But then we got another mini boss here, and it's just not gonna die. It's just like 3 mil health it's still at, and that just took a million hits to kill it. So overall, this weapon, really good for dealing with large amounts of mobs. For mini bosses, not so much. The next weapon we're gonna be testing is the Spirit Sceptre. This Spirit Sceptre looks like it's the cheapest, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy this one, and then we can fix it up.
1 million zillion jillion dillion cotillion times later.
And there we go, it's all fixed up, and your Spirit Sceptre should look something like this. To recap, it should be Ultimate Wise 5, at least 10 hot potato books, 5 stars, heroic, a bunch of tier 6s, and a recom. And the cost of this weapon came down to 33 million coins. So we are doing 2.7 with the Hyperion, and then with the Spirit Sceptre, we are doing 486k, so just shy, 487 there, just shy of 500,000 damage, which is pretty good to see. I mean, for a weapon that cheap, that's actually not bad damage, honestly. These bats do seem to be kind of delayed and like move slowly, which is a little bit annoying. But the good thing is it does have a bunch of AoE, so you can just spam it on the floor and it just doesn't matter. Massive explosion. So the AoE aspect on this is really good. You can also spam it just like the Glacial Scythe, which will help for mob clearing in dungeons and stuff like that. Once again, we can go ahead and test this weapon in dungeons against the Hyperion right here. So right off the bat, you can see even from the distance, or maybe not actually, you cannot clear that well from a distance, which is one thing with the Hype. You can kind of just teleport all the way over, but it does seem to be clearing like mass amounts of mobs with relative ease here. Okay, the server's lagging like hell, dude. I can kind of just spam the floor here, and I can get all of these things dead. Looks like we are also doing like 3 million damage, which is It's not the greatest, but then again, it's a 34 million coin weapon. It's not the most expensive. It's not meant to be the greatest, and it's more meant for the AoE aspect of things. But you can see weaker mobs that are all bunched together, it clears everything with ease. It just blows right through all of them, which I suppose is one good benefit from this weapon. You also kind of can't snipe these things from a distance. I don't know why it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like if I shoot it this way, the bat just like takes 5 years to get there and now it's stuck against the wall. Like what? Let's try Yellow Room. We haven't tried that with any of these weapons here, and this is just gonna take forever to do, isn't it? Okay, we got it done in the end, but that just takes so long to do because this weapon just does not do damage in a straight line, dude. What? You guys just saw that, right? What is that server lag, bro? I was in the fairy room. I was in here. It like teleported me back to the fairy room here. Like, what is that? You can also see, like, if I just go in with the Hype, it is so much easier than even something like the Spirit Sceptre here. It just goes to show how Hype is superior to even these cheap weapons right here in so many different ways. And now the last weapon we're going to be testing is the Midas Staff. You want to be looking for a Midas Staff that looks just like this one. This one has Fumings, it's 100 mil paid, so that maxes out that 26k. Has Ultimate Wise 5, Smite 7, and a bunch of tier 6s, so I'll go ahead and buy this one. I did go ahead and add a couple of tier 6s on the Midas Staff, so our total cost comes out to 409 million coins. So this is supposed to be one of the highest damaging weapons for single hit damage in all of Hypixel Skyblock. Again, with the Hyperion, we're doing just under 2.9 million damage, and with the Midas Staff here, we are doing 7.6 mil. Wait, what the hell? Wait, dude, this is actually so OP. 7.6, 7.6. 7.6. It's consistent too. Dude, this thing is literally doing like over 3 times that damage of a Hyperion. That's actually insane. Obviously, it does have a cooldown, which is a little bit annoying, so I can't exactly spam it here. And it only does damage like inside the path, so if I aim it like here, there's kind of no AoE on it, which is not that great. But as you can see, I just killed that zombie from like 7 or 8 blocks away. The range is pretty good on this thing. Now, this probably won't be the best in dungeons, since it has a cooldown and it kind of doesn't do AoE, but let's see. Okay, well, it's not that bad, I guess, but it's like really bad, especially if something's close range. But we are doing like 36 mil a hit here, which is kind of good. Okay, I just 2-tapped that thing. This thing's insane for damage. It's not bad for like longer rooms like this, where it's more like a rectangle. It's another mini boss here, so I can try to take care of that. I have no clue where it went. I think I accidentally might have killed it. You can see that 73 million damage there. That's insane. I can also go ahead and test it out on yellow room here, but I'm not sure how this is gonna go. Okay, we just 3-tapped that thing. Yeah, I just did 79 mil there too. That's crazy. As I said, it's really OP for single hit damage, but when you come to a bunch of mobs, it's just not that great. Just like the Yeti Sword, I also want to test the Midas Staff against Blade Soul right here. However, I am going to be using a SOS Flare here, just to make sure I don't run out of mana, because I know for a fact that's going to happen. So let's go. Why isn't he taking damage? What the hell? I'm literally hitting him. I can see the damage, and I can hear him hurting, but he just is not taking damage. Hello? Confusion? So I think if I hit it with a Hyperion, and then I start doing the Midas Staff, then it works. So, oh my god, bro. Yo, how does he keep healing so fast? He healed again, bro. Bro! He was on 4 million health! 4! Bro, what do I even do? What? Okay, bro, it's not happening. What the hell? This guy just keeps spawning back at 50 million health. I actually don't understand. Overall, each weapon has its niche uses. Use the Yeti Sword for cheap one-hit damage. Use the Spirit Sceptre for AoE damage. Use the Midas Staff for even more single-hit damage. And don't use the Glacial Scythe because the Spirit Sceptre does better and it's literally half the price. And none of these weapons give you healing or teleportations. You're gonna have to find something else for that. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy or learn something, please make sure to like and subscribe, as I'm in a race with Flame Game God to 10,000 subscribers. And if we win that, I'll give you guys 150 million coins in my Discord. Speaking of which, join that for giveaways, carries, and more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.